Is anybody there? Hello? Good morning.
I think we're all here. I think we're just waiting for some more people to show.
Okay, so you're hearing me okay. Thanks, Dan. That's what I was trying to figure out. It looks like a different setup for this Zoom. You got to raise your hand to speak. Is that it? What I'm seeing, Dan?
We're supposed to be in a regular session one, not the
Yeah,
closed
it's
session.
it's regular session first. That's what I was told.
Currently, the chair is having a difficulty getting through. As soon as he comes up, we can get started.
The only people that raise a hand to speak are on the public side. There are county employees on the public side, so we
Okay.
will move them
Now,
over
just to be clear, Dan,
if
this
they
is
have an
the
item
open
they need to
session.
speak on. If we already know they're on the agenda, we invite them as a panelist on there. Other members, they can still speak. They just have to go through the same way as the public do.
All right, Dan, I know I was told this yesterday. We are doing the open session Zoom first and then the closed session. Is that correct?
Okay, do we have everybody on?
I'm not seeing Supervisor Berkowitz yet.
Yes.
Okay, Chair, it looks like we have all the supervisors here.
Okay, welcome everyone. Today is Tuesday, April 21st. It is past the 10 o'clock hour. The Board of Supervisors of the County of Del Norte and the governing body of all other special assessment and taxing districts for which said board so acts is now meeting in special session. Kylie, would you please call roll?
Supervisor Howard?
Yes.
Supervisor Cowan?
Here.
Supervisor Gitlin?
Here.
Supervisor Berkowitz? Supervisor Berkowitz? I think you're muted.
Here, gotcha. All right, here.
Chair Hemmingson?
I am here. At this time, we will take a moment of reflection. And now if you'll all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
And to
the
the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Kylie, is there any public comment, any written public comment that was?
I do have 2 written public comments. One is from Jesse Davis. And I will start that one if you'd like.
Please.
Regarding our medical and economic crisis, I don't think anyone has all the right answers, so we must think critically for ourselves and with community interest in mind. There's definitely a point in time when an economic collapse could cause more pain and suffering than the virus itself. No one knows where that point is on this timeline, but it feels frighteningly close already. Alternately, if we open up too soon, there could be more tragedy than we're willing to endure, no matter what the financial cost. I don't care for the president, and you know I disagree with Roger Gitlin often, but I do think we should quickly explore the idea of opening up commerce in steps and stages. As usual, we don't fit state standards, and we have to do what's right for us while acting responsibly within the rest of the world. I like the idea of allowing restaurants to open at 10 or 20% capacity while taking smart measures to keep everyone safe. Opening of lodging makes me nervous because it may invite travelers too soon, even though that's who our economy depends on the most. At some point, we're probably going to have to learn to live with the virus over the long haul, but I feel confident because we are smart. We are resourceful. We are blessed to be a part of this community, and we will find solutions together. Maybe it's time to form a full-time working group. I will end with a quote from Henry Ford: whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you will be right. I do have another public comment from Norma Williams, but I believe it's in for item number 4. Do you want me to read that now, or do you want me to wait till we discuss item number 4?
No, let's do that at item number 4.
Okay,
Is that all you have?
that's all I have for written. I just have the 2.
Okay, is there any other public comment of people who want to raise their hand and speak on?
I do have one person raising their hand.
Okay.
And her name is Cheryl. And Cheryl, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, she's
Can
on.
you hear me?
We can.
Okay, I purposely do not have my camera on my computer for identity purposes, but I am Cheryl Steinreck. I live here in District 3. So I would like to address the board. Thank you so much for having me on today. I have a major concern with regards to the corona virus, COVID-19. And I believe that the reason why we have a low number of cases in Del Norte County is because we are in home sheltering and we are social distancing. And I am absolutely against anyone opening up the economy for the purpose of putting our lives in harm's way. I caught wind of what I'm calling a COVID-19 denial rally headed by Mr. Gitlin and Mr. Schultz. And I'm really sad to see that. The news information I have received around the country is every time they've had one of these rallies, there's been a spike. And that's what Dr. Fauci has said. We are too soon into this. And my concern is right here in rural Del Norte County, we do not have ventilators. We do not have tests. We do not have any PPEs to even wear unless I make them here at my home. And for me, I just can't believe how a leader such as you, Mr. Gitlin, would even want to consider having a public rally at this point in time. Now, sure, the economy is in trouble, you bet. But why did we give $500 billion to the multimillionaires of this country? Why didn't that $500 billion come to the businesses, and not in terms of loans either? Do it as a gift because they have to run their businesses. Why can't they get it? Oh yeah, you can get a loan. What good is that? You got to pay it back, and when and how? And I also think that every member of our community should get tested. Every member of our community should get a monthly check until we're through this pandemic. And I just want to encourage you that one thing that Andrew Cuomo said the other day, you do not have the right to infect me. Now, I don't know how many of you have had people die on you. Have you helped pass people into the spirit world? I have. It's not fun to watch. And so for me, it's like, if we want to have quality of life, we need to think about not just the money. We need to put people first. And so I'm very concerned that I'm thankful for one thing I learned yesterday is that the Board of Supervisors is not condoning or has sanctioned this rally. I appreciate that very much. And I would like to have us find a way within Dr. Raywald's power, Mr. Serena's power, whatever it is, to protect our community and stop this kind of malarkey, quote Biden. And so for me, I think it's important that we put our interest first instead of money. Any questions?
Thank you. Appreciate the public comment. Is there any other public comment?
I am not seeing any other public comment at this time.
Mr. Dorigo has.
I have
his
one
hand
more.
raised.
I think Robert Dorigo, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
This is an unusual situation. I'm not very technologically advanced, but I did want to say, you know, I was shocked to see Roger's post. I can see that clearly, you know, a good proportion of America is not taking this very seriously, and hopefully they have reason to. You know, so far we don't have the science to know whether to take this all that, you know, seriously or not, but maybe some of these studies will keep coming in and kind of show we have a lower fatality rate with this, you know, as we find that more people are being tested and all. But the fact is we just don't know that yet. And so I've been looking, you know, to see when the cases are flattening. I closed my business a week before anybody else did, a week before the state shut down. And I had been asking you guys to, you know, close the schools and things like that. So I take it pretty seriously. I've got a son with asthma. I think that might be a big confounder there. If you have a family member that you think would suffer from this more than someone else, you know. And to me, you know, if it takes us 100 tests to get a positive, you know, that means that based on our 30,000 new positives a day we're getting in this country, we should be doing about 3 million tests a day. We're not doing 3 million tests a day. I've come to theorize that perhaps this flattening we're seeing is just a flattening in our ability to detect these positives. Because like I said, if we did 100 tests for every positive we found, we'd have 3.5 million tests a day, and we're not doing 3.5 million tests a day in America. So there's a good chance that we've just reached our threshold in our ability to see whether we really have a curve flattening or do we have detect these new cases flattening. I would just like to see someone like Supervisor Gitlin wait until we knew the answer. And I think we probably have a couple more weeks before we have any clear indication of what we should be doing right now. And the hotels was the biggest thing, you know, and I've been begging you guys, you know, the hotels are dangerous. The schools are dangerous right now, you know, and hopefully we're going to find out this isn't too much more fatal than the flu, but we just don't know that now. And I don't want anybody, I'd like some our leaders like Roger leading people to make smart decisions. But thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Is there any other public comment?
I'm not seeing any on my side.
Okay. So if that's the case, we will move on. We'll close public comment at this time and move on to item number 4, which is approve and adopt a resolution establishing temporary paid leave for non-employees and additional floating holidays for essential employees during the COVID-19 pandemic as requested by Administrative Officer and Personnel Risk Management. Jay?
First of all,
I make a motion. Go ahead.
As an explanation on this, this is a resolution in anticipation of a different level than what we're at right now in regards to our employees. And if we had to go to a more limited staffing level, and it deals with disaster service workers as well as those essential employees that would have to be at work in the event that we go to that next level. I'm hoping that as we go through this, we will not have to institute this. This allows me to institute it when the need is there, which is typically going to be based off of decisions that are made through public health and in conjunction with the health officer. I would also like to say in the motion, there would be a change in one of the words. Instead of floating holidays, we would like to say personal holidays, and that would be reflected throughout the document. And I'd also like to say, give a thank you to County Counsel's office, Joel Campbell, who he put this together over the last few weeks, and I appreciate that. And if there are any questions, I can take those, or Joel can take those.
Okay, seeing no questions, did I hear a motion, Supervisor Cowan?
Yes, I will make a motion to adopt the resolutions with the changes that CAO Serena implied.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment? Kylie, you have?
I have a written public comment from Norman Williams. And it says, my name is Norman Williams and I am the chapter president of the Delaware County Employees Association, SEIU 1021. It is important to recognize the continued and valuable service county employees give to our community, especially during this declared emergency. Our lobbies may be closed, but we're still here ready to serve. The union supports the resolution as it guarantees non-essential workers will continue to receive the regular pay and benefits regardless of whether they can telecommute or whether they are placed on disaster service workers leave. It also gives the added benefit to those required to work additional floating holiday hours that once accrued and credited can be used during the length of the employee's county service. Staff levels are already lowered in several county departments, and we urge the CAO to put this policy into effect as soon as possible. Thank you.
So Chair, could I read the motion in so that we have that officially on the record? It would
Yes,
be
please.
to approve and adopt a resolution establishing temporary paid leave for non-essential employees and additional personal holidays for essential employees during the COVID-19 pandemic, as amended with the word personal substituted for floating throughout. And as I mentioned earlier, this is only for the declared emergency that's in place right now.
Okay, is there any public comment? Kylie, anybody else showing up for public comment?
I'm not seeing any other raised hands as far as people that are on right now with us. I'm not seeing any, and I just had that one written.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from board members? Kylie, would you please poll the vote?
Supervisor Berkowitz,
Yes.
Supervisor Gitlin,
Yes.
Supervisor Howard,
Yes.
Supervisor Cowan,
Yes,
Chair Hemmingson.
Yes. Okay, moving on to item number 5, which is an approve and adopt a resolution reopening Walker Road and rescinding resolution 2020-19 as requested by Supervisor Howard.
Thank you, Chair Hemmingson. As you're aware, the board unanimously several weeks ago chose to work with our partners, state parks and national parks, at their request to close Walker Road in an urgency matter that we believe came down at request from the state. Although this step was an effort not only to partner with our parks, but also to recognize the significance of this pandemic. In doing so, however, over time, we've all gotten phone calls from concerned citizens that outdoor recreation in particular is being stifled for local residents. And we have now seen, at least here in Del Norte County, as with the curtailment in transients coming from outside our community to this community has sloughed off, our residents are left with very limited access points to state parks and national parks, Forest Service lands in order to recreate, as was advised through the governor's executive order. In speaking with folks here at Del Norte County, and more importantly, our constituents, the congregation of folks at these now reduced number of trailheads is what we've all wanted to try to avoid. And I think it is a good first step, given that some counties are now reflecting back on some of these measures and beginning to reduce the level of restrictions, that us too, as Del Norte County Supervisors, continue to make more access available for outdoor recreation in respects to alleviating the pressure and accumulation of residents on some of these trailheads. I have asked Brett Silver to join us as part of this discussion, because I believe it's also important for the Board of Supervisors to consider today writing a letter, not only to state parks, but also the operations center, which Brett Silver could detail us on today, to ask for the reopening for county residents, some of our state park trailheads, so we do not have congestion in these areas.
Thank you. So is there any public comment? Brett, are you on?
Brett is on.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you want to give us some comment?
Sure. So from the governor's orders, at the State Operations Center, they were working on how to best keep people at home, because the governor's order still has a stay-at-home request. Only essential travel is officially allowed. So state parks through Sacramento was instructed to do soft closures on all 280 state parks, and that is still in effect. So essentially, there is no vehicle access allowed in any of the state parks in the entire system. And so we asked the county, who controls the majority of Walker Road, to close that road to prevent people from congregating and areas on trailheads in various places. So that order is still in effect. And I know Chris Howard has asked me to, what's the process to basically get an exemption from the soft closure order for Del Norte County. And so during our conversation, the best way that I found out was to work through your EOC, probably Kimmy Scott, and make a request to the State Operations Center, which is essentially Cal OES, and make an official request that Del Norte County would like a soft closure exemption from the parks within Del Norte County.
Thank you, Brett.
Okay, is there any other public comment?
I am not seeing any.
Okay. Anybody interested in making a motion?
At this time, Jerry, I would like to make two separate motions, one to address the resolution and two to direct staff. So first, I'd like to make a motion to rescind the resolution that would close Walker Road.
I'll second that motion.
So you're wanting to do something other than what is there, the resolution to reopen Walker Road? You're not wanting to do that? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Jerry, you continuously cut out.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're not wanting to adopt a resolution to reopen Walker Road? You're only wanting to rescind the previous resolution?
Whatever county council recommends.
So the resolution is reopening Walker Road by rescinding the previous resolution. Okay. Yeah, so it's just as written on the agenda. The second part that Supervisor Howard wants to do, I don't know that you need to do a motion, just to direct staff. If you want to take any official board action or write a letter, we'll have to put it on the next board agenda, as we didn't have that agendized.
I was told very clearly that this item could only be discussed, but also direction could be given to have this discussion. So what's changed?
So you can have, I mean, we can direct staff to do something. I just don't know that we can adopt a letter or do a motion for a letter. without that portion being on the agenda.
So Supervisor Howard, the second portion of that, so I'm assuming the first motion was according to what's on the agenda. The second one would be directing staff to take action somewhere, doing something. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. Well, Chairman Hemmingson, do you want to approve the resolution first, or do you want me to talk about?
Yeah, why don't we go ahead? We have a motion, and Lori, did you second that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. There was no public comment. So Kylie, would you please poll the vote, and then we'll have a discussion on direction to staff.
Right.
Supervisor Gitlin,
Yes.
Supervisor Berkowitz,
Yes.
Supervisor Cowan, Supervisor Cowan, Supervisor Howard,
Yes.
Supervisor Cowan,
Yes.
Chair Hemmingson.
Yes. Okay, Chris, you want to get into what kind of direction to staff you'd like to see?
Yes, as I made statements in my opening comments, Brett Silver has highlighted a pathway for us as a board to submit a letter to the Operations Center for the state of California requesting either relaxation or an exemption to reopen our parks trailheads. I would like to have staff put together a letter that from the Board of Supervisors that would request an exemption for Del Norte County to reopen our trailheads.
Okay. Is that clear enough, Jay?
It is, the request through emergency services isn't necessarily a letter. There's a formal step of me asking for that through, I believe, the REOC, but we'll have to do a little bit of research on what the best avenue is to make the request. I'm still a little bit confused as to why we're going through OES on a order that came down from the governor to state parks, but we can certainly review that and see if that is the best step in order to get to a point where we can get resolution to this.
Okay.
Thank you, Jay.
Hey, Chris, this is Brett. Just to be clear, the trailheads are open. So what you're looking for is an exemption from the vehicle closures. So you want to have vehicle access through the parks.
That is correct. I mean, and I think I've highlighted that statement specifically because we are causing congestion at the current trailheads, especially Damnation Creek and up here in Hyuchi at the Hyuchi Trail. And it's causing what I would call areas of accumulation, but also at-risk behaviors where people are crossing the highways in order to access these trailheads. So I think it's kind of defeating the purpose, or at least the intent of what the governor had within his executive order. And that's why I'm trying to make this request.
And just to be clear, state parks is trying to discourage any activity which requires traveling by vehicle to any place. So so essentially they want, if you can walk to a park, walk to it, but they don't really want people driving around, trying to limit that as much as possible. So that's just the state official stance.
I think it was a stretch, and I appreciate those comments, but to close the Vista points, to close the trailhead at Damnation Creek, there's steps here that I think are a little bit more practical for Del Norte County, given our isolation, given the fact that we've really restricted the amount of traffic in our area, that we can relax these restrictions, especially here, and be effective in doing so.
And Brett, this is Supervisor Cowan. I just want to thank you for making the comments that our parks are open. I think so many people here think that the state has stopped them from even going into the parks. And it's trying to get that message out that that is not the fact. Our trails, our rivers, our oceans are open. And the whole purpose of what the state was trying to do was to avoid congestion. And as Supervisor Howard pointed out, and I think we talked about it early on with this resolution is the concern is what is now happening and the parking and where they're parking is now becoming a hazard, which we need to also address. So thank you, Supervisor Howard, for bringing this up. And I certainly agree with having staff look more into it.
Sure. One more thing is, so people want the current, what's going on with California State Parks. The website is kept up to date and it has what soft closures. Some parks are under hard closures in different counties. So it's a good source of information for folks who are looking at what they can and can't do in parks currently.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and I think we're dealing with the issue of we're getting complaints locally from locals. And I think the idea of not wanting to become a destination for other people to flee their area and come to ours because we're virtually COVID free. So, I think there is some good to what Parks is doing. So I don't want to discard that completely. Walker Road is known mostly by locals. Not that it isn't known by outside the area, but I think an area for the locals to be able to drive down and view, and I don't know if there's room to stop or not. I'm sure that the parks will close off their parking lot like they've closed other ones off. But I appreciate everybody's comments, and we'll have staff look into that. Anybody got any other comments on the board?
Jerry,
So-
Chair, are we gonna just do it as a direction to staff by consensus? Because we did kind of have a motion and a second on the table from Howard and Cowan. Are we just gonna do this as a consensus for direction to staff?
Just consensus, we're gonna direct staff by consensus.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, we're going to move on now to item number 6, which is award the professional services agreement for the Pebble Beach Drive storm damage project. 2, authorize the community development director to execute the change orders up to the maximum allowable under public contract code. And 3, authorize the community development director to provide ongoing written documentation that the project is essential and proceeding is consistent with the guidance from the county's public health officer and other relevant sources as requested by the assistant county engineer. Is Rosanna on to speak to this, or we need any speaking to this, or do we have a motion?
Rosanna is on, and I'm sure she'd like to speak about it. She has her hand raised.
Okay, bring it on.
Rosanna, can you hear us? Rosanna, are you there? How about Heidi? Are you there? I'm not sure if they're having technical difficulties. I see Rosanna's hand is raised.
Can you hear me, Kylie?
I can hear Heidi, yes.
Okay, good. Well, I'm here. I guess in summary, we've been working on this for several years. We had some delays in order to actually release the contract or to let the contract, which we've worked through. And we're to the point now where we are ready to actually award the professional services agreement for this project and do just as a recommendation list. And actually, Rosanna's here in my office now, so if you have specific questions, she can answer them.
Sorry, I was having technical difficulties.
Okay.
One request I do have.
Go ahead.
Is the agreement was set up to be approved at the next regularly scheduled board meeting. And so on page 3, it says that it should go into effect next Tuesday, and I would like that changed to today.
Okay. Is that all you got, Rosanna?
That was the only thing. I wasn't sure if there were any questions.
Okay, any questions from board members? Can I
No.
get, can I get a motion then reflecting that take effect
I'll make a
today?
motion for item, yep, I'll make a motion awarding the professional service agreement with the changes to be taken, the date to be changed to today's date, 4/21/2020, and authorize the community development director to execute the change orders up to the maximum allowable under public contract, code 20142B, and authorize the community development director to provide ongoing written documentation that the project is essential and is proceeding in consistence with guidance from the county's public health officer and other relevant sources as requested by Assistant County Engineer.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any public comment?
I am not seeing any.
Okay, seeing no public comment, any comments or questions from board members? Tyler, would you poll the vote, please?
Supervisor Berkowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Gitlin?
Yes.
Supervisor Howard?
Yes.
Supervisor Cowan?
Yes.
Chair Hemmingson?
Yes. Okay, we are going to go into closed session. So I'm going to ask for any public comment on closed session items only at this time.
Chair, I am not seeing any.
Okay, so we are going to convene in closed session. We'll see you all there.
If you give me just 2 minutes, I will get it set up.
Okay, you got it. Countdown.